Welcome back to Hillbilly Pillars. You folks, there's a legend overseas, over the big pond here from the United States of America. There's a man known for his size, his demure piano size. It is the 6-inch pianist, and he is celebrating 10 years of doing these YouTube vinyl community videos, and he's done a contest that's part of his ongoing vinyl community Jukebox. And he's challenged us to pick 3 songs with a specific parameter that we would play on the Jukebox on a Saturday night. As I'm known to do, I overthought this. There are so many scenarios. Like, what is the scene like at this, what he calls a pub? And when he says a pub, I imagine like an old guy drinking an oversized pint. He's kind of hunched over, and there's maybe one other person in this rickety old place, and like some guy with a heavy Cockney accent's about to come in and like shoot Guy Ritchie or something like that. So that's kind of what I get in my mind when he says pub. But bar, what have your drinking establishment where you're from? And I'm like, is this a happening bar? Has it got a lot of people in it? Is there possibilities that you are going to be able to go home with what you maybe came for? Is it a sad and lonely, down and out place? So the mood's a big deal. And then it's like, who am I playing the songs for? Have I got a couple of buddies there and I'm like trying to blow their mind with like this great selection? Is it simply like the Bouncing Souls thing? Am I trying to bully the jukebox and I jam like 3 16-minute plus Dylan tracks? So I went around in my head, am I just going to be completely on the nose and pick one of 60 straight up just about a jukebox country songs that I know and love? So I went through all those kind of things and then said, hey, what are you doing, dummy? Just pick 3 things. You got a lot of stuff to pick from. Pick some cool stuff and do that. So here we go. First up, this is kind of funny. This is the only 45 I own. And it is my wife and I's song. Her name is Sarah. And it is Islands in the Stream by Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. We are talking about the roaster, the gambler, the coiffed one, Kenny Rogers, in his apex of his career in the early 80s, accompanied by the living legend already at that time, Dolly Parton, singing an incredibly listenable pop track written by the Bee Gees. This was beyond all constellations and stars lining up. It was like a predetermined hit before it was even conceived. This was it just had to be a God thing that all these machinations lined up to create this perfect pop radio country hit, Islands in the Stream. It's my wife and I's favorite song because it's kind of tongue in cheek, but also it takes me to another part of my life I want to share. I'm 50, and my family moved to the panhandle of Florida when I was in 2nd grade. And all of my relatives, like I was the only person of my generation not born in Virginia. I was born in North Carolina. And every year we would go home back to Virginia to visit our family. And the permeating music of that time in my life through the radio that my parents would listen to was classic country late 70s, early 80s music. So I just have beyond a soft spot for all that stuff. I like John with Digital Gramophone says there are no guilty pleasures. I'll ride with that. I don't mark these as guilty pleasures, but there's just some of those songs I just get a little teared up. A lot of them aren't that good. A lot of them aren't crafted or recorded that well, but I don't care. I love that stuff. And if it's 10 o'clock at night and my wife, who's not much of a drinker, I can have convinced to have a couple of glasses of wine. I put on Islands in the Stream on the jukebox. She is going to get up and she's going to move. And Lord have mercy, I love watching her move. So we've got Islands in the Stream with my first pick. Speaking of that, that's another thing I wanted to share while I was on this video, just stuff going through my mind. My wife actually fronted a band here in the Panhandle of Florida. That's how I got to know her. I was a fan. No, I was not a creep and approached her. She approached me. That's how this happened. Her band was the Sarah Mac Band, named after her. This is one of her albums, Static and Signals. So I just wanted to shout out to her. It's actually funny. The first time I ever saw her play was at a Bob Dylan cover night, which if you know me, that would surprise no one. It was a local thing at the Legion Hall. And a local artist I like a lot here, a songwriter I would suggest anyone check out. His name's Grant Peoples. He would host these, and it would be what my wife would joke would be typically old white guys kind of roughly strumming on a guitar that can't sing very well going through these Bob tracks. And he also, Grant had this bad habit and insistence that for Bob nights, he would let people repeat doing the same songs because he felt like they were bringing different heart and all that. So that ultimately meant like old white guy, kind of poorly strumming a guitar that can't sing well, like 4 of them doing Simple Twist of Fate or Don't Think Twice. Anyway, it was still Bob nights, and I would go and I would enjoy it. You would get some acts that would do some cool versions. And my running tab for me of always who won the night would be whoever did the most recent Bob song. Because it's like, come on, man. You know, his career didn't end in 1964 or whatever. And my wife, it was shortly after the album came out, she did a song off Together Through Life. I believe it was Beyond Here Lies Nothing. It was that one or the other, or Forgetful Heart. It was one of those two. I think it was Beyond Here Lies Nothing. That was it. Lo and behold, many years later, I married her. That's how I feel about Bob. So she won the night, eventually won my heart. And we together are Islands in the Stream. Moving to the next one, I'm thinking about the crowd you're playing to and this kind of stuff. And this one's just my shot at trying to appeal to the most people I can and get toes tapping. And I've picked not the actual album version, but from a live release. And that is Midnight Special from the recent Creedence Clearwater Revival at the Royal Albert Hall show. They had a Netflix, documentary, which the first half, it was kind of cool. I really enjoyed what they did with it. It was like telling the story of the time there for CCR. And then the back half of it is just this concert. So it sets the context. And then this comes in and, man, it was a beautiful way to set up, like, if you're like me or anyone my age who grew up on US FM radio, they were so omnipresent, you just took for granted that CCR wasn't just like oxygen. So I'm trying to imagine that was not the case. And people went to these shows during this insane as any artist ever for a 3 or 4 year span, in my humble opinion, with John Fogerty's songwriting at the time and the songs he was kicking out. And to go see that, and they were like who he mentions in a song like Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. They got in and out of songs quick, and it was like it comes and goes in this concerts like that. But specifically in that video, this version of Midnight Special, it was one of my instantly favorite live things. It starts with John on his very certifiably recognizable guitar sound, which that's a thing I like at John. He's not a complicated, but he is an identifiable guitar player. He's got a sound on those riffs this is Fogerty. And he plays and he just sings a solo, and then the band falls in for that first chorus. Let the midnight spit. And I just feel like the whole world explodes and opens up. So, yeah, man. It's late at night and we're feeling good at the bar. I'm putting on CCR. Woo! Then last but not least, I could have picked all 3 songs off of one album from this artist. But instead of going with one of this artist's On the Nose records, he's got a lot as far as like Saturday Night Bar. I kind of went with a vibe. And this is going back to the like, you are going not for social. You are going to Consider the poor choices you have made in your life, the regrets that you have over a beer you probably can barely afford at this point in your life. And that is the title track for Merle Haggard's Going Where the Lonely Go. One of the coolest, smoothest Merle tracks there are. I would guess it would go on, like, if you had to make me do like a 10-track Merle greatest hits thing for me, this would be on it. It's got this loping piano, and it's, the whole theme is, there's this woman, he's got this memory, and he can't outrun it, so he finds himself going where the lonely go. And it's got this loping, slow, glacial pace in this piano, and there feels like it's a build-up to him, like, starting a shuffle beat chorus or something, and it never builds up. Just like this guy's life isn't building up, man. It is just, he's just rolling with the flow, going where the lonely go. So those are my 3 picks. We've got CCR, we got Merle, and we got the blessed Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Thanks.